Hey everyone, Daniela here with Addo Aesthetics, and I hope today that you are ready to be inspired because I have Liliana Aranda joining us. And Liliana is a licensed esthetician. She's certified in oncology aesthetics, and she has built a really successful, amazing business, carved out a niche for herself, and has been featured in over 200 magazines and media outlets along the way to gain publicity for her business. And she's going to share her story of how she's accomplished such great success over the last couple of years. So Liliana, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you, Daniela. I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Why don't you start with telling us how you got involved in aesthetics in the first place?
When I was 6 years old, I used to do my dad's grooming. I would trim his eyebrows, put avocado on his face, trim his nails, do all of that because he didn't feel comfortable going to most salons and spas. You know, they were catered mostly to women back in the mid-70s, early 80s. So he trained me on how he wanted it done for him specifically. So at 6, I was doing all of that and just enjoying it. You know, it was like playing with a life-size Barbie doll, doing all those
What a
fun
good
things.
dad, too.
Yes, quite the dad. And I naturally was very creative. So I went into advertising and marketing right away. I did that for about 16 years. And on my 33rd birthday, I was told basically I was no longer part of the company. So that left me in my mid 30s on my birthday wondering, what else do I do? I've only known one career my entire life. So a wonderful person told me about aesthetics and said, you can be your own boss, you can set your own hours, you can pretty much do whatever you want within this creative field. And 6 months later, I was already enrolled at the Aveda Institute in San Francisco. And I have been full throttle ever since. Been doing it for 5 years now and absolutely love it.
And in 5 years, you really have accomplished a lot. You know, I mean, it's when we were talking earlier on the phone, you know, you were telling me you have your own solo SD practice. You've built where you're completely booked out, where you can't even accept new clients, or if you do, they're several weeks out. And you've been featured in all of these magazines and media outlets. How did you decide first that you wanted to be a solo SD? And, you know, obviously you have the marketing background, but how did you just kind of figure that out? Because I think a lot of estheticians really strive to achieve, you know, what you have and look at you as a role model.
Well, for me, it was pretty easy. I hear stories from other estheticians that it took years or they found themselves kind of falling into it. I would say it was kind of one of those things that just fell into my lap when I saw one person do so many different services in the course of one day and make money doing it and enjoying it at the same time. That's what I thought was missing from my life. I was making good money in advertising, but I wasn't enjoying it in the end. It was a lot of work, creative on demand, which is not that different from being an esthetician, but I got to decide what I wanted to do. I didn't really have to answer to somebody else. I've never worked for another spa. I've never worked for somebody else. It was always from day one. I was always a spa-entrepreneur is what I call it, and really enjoyed that. I just felt like I knew that it was a business that I was cut out to do. The hardest part was really deciding what I would focus on, and then that was pretty much it, and then just maintaining the business. But once I got started, it was really easy to see that I fit into this whole business. It was almost like it chose me, and I was really grateful for that because it's really rare for that to happen.
And you have carved out this little niche for yourself. You're certified in oncology aesthetics. Your spa is considered a gluten-free spa. You know, you have this kind of natural skincare thing going for you. How important do you think that was to have something so specialized, you know, to help you grow? Because I know a lot of people say, I like to do all the treatments and I want to do everything. And I'm from the belief system that the more specialized you are, the more your business will grow. But I would love to hear your opinion on that.
My dad gave me a lot of great advice when I started, and he said, find your niche market and then go with that, because that's really where you're going to shine, and that's really where people will seek you for advice and for things that other people aren't doing. It's great to be a Jill of all trades and be able to do waxing and lashes and spray tanning and facials and microderm. But if you're doing them at 70% of your potential, probably won't be as successful. But if you are doing maybe fewer things, 2, 3, 4 different services at 100% of your potential, I think that really shows, that's the feedback I get from clients. They say, you really love to do facials, you really love to do eyelash extensions, and you really love to do brows. Those are my 3 best services. Those are the 3 services that I offer. I think you're doing yourself a disservice by putting your finger in too many pots and trying to be everything to everyone. That was never the philosophy that I had. I always knew I was going to find one thing that would set me apart from everyone else. And currently it's the gluten-free. I get a lot of clients who come in saying, I didn't know I was allergic to gluten. Now I see it's in everything from shampoos to body lotions to nail polish to hairspray. And they want to find someone who knows that market really well, who can steer them in the right direction. And that's where I come in. So that has been really fantastic for my business. It draws people from as far as San Jose, which is a good hour and a half from my salon. Draws people from Marin County, from San Francisco, from pretty much everywhere. Even out of state clients will send me messages and ask me for advice. And I find that that really has set me apart from just your average spa or solo Estie that's around the area. We're a really saturated market, so you have to find something that sets you apart.
So once you have your particular niche, which for you is the gluten-free, how do you go about growing your business? Because a lot of solo Esties, that's what they say is, how do I need more clients, I need to market, I need to grow my business. And you did something amazing by being featured in so many, you've been featured in Wall Street business section, in Boston Globe, and ABC News, and 200 other more publications, Day Spa Magazine, Skin Inc., all of these, I can go on and on. How did you figure out how to get featured in those, and what kind of return has that given you for your business?
It was one of those things that came out of the blue. I'm fortunate in that respect that I consistently posted on social media, and I really think that was the trigger for someone to see what I had posted and then contact me. Associated Press actually called me up and said, we are doing a feature that's going to go nationwide. We'd like to talk to you about it. It's about the growth of small business, and we kind of looked you up for a bit and saw that you had some really great things going on. It made me realize that people pay attention to what you do. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, I made sure to keep my social media posts consistent, do it every single day. Doesn't have to be a lot, could be once or twice a day. Relevant content for all of your audience members, because you just never know who's looking. Mm-hmm. So making sure that you have good, solid presence that's professional was, I believe, the key that got me noticed. And then from there, they interviewed me, sent a photographer over, and that article got all over the place. And then from there, other articles started to pop up, and I have been featured, like you said, over 200 different social media outlets, newspapers, magazines, websites, you name it. It has been fantastic, but I worked very hard to get there. So consistently marketing myself, telling everybody about what I did, making sure that I had professional looking business cards, business collateral, again, social media posting, and doing it very, very regularly, I believe is what really got me noticed, because there's thousands of other spas out there that they could have reached out to. Why did they pick me? And they just said, because you popped up. So I popped up, meaning they did searches and they looked around, but because I was top of mind, that made it easier for them to select me. And then when they read my story, they realized, well, she's a great fit for this story, and that's how it became what it became.
Now, before that, though, you had written articles for
Yes.
Day Spa Magazine, Skin Inc., and things like that, which is a great way to increase your SEO. So if someone, which is your search engine optimization, so if someone was searching for you, obviously your name would come up in a lot more publications. How often and how long were you writing for those magazines and before this opportunity came up?
It felt like it was almost every other month for almost a year. I felt like I had contributed so much in such a short amount of time. I think that really helped. Mm-hmm. I also used to write for the San Francisco Examiner, and that was probably one of the best things I've ever done, not knowing that it would later support my business. I think I was maybe a year out of school, and because I love to write, it was for me a perfect match. I could go and review different spas and treatments, write for the Examiner, and they would post it, and then my name would just consistently pop up as someone who was good at writing reviews. It wasn't like a Yelp review. it was completely different. We had to really write about the experience, the story behind the spas, about the owners. And by taking it to that level, I increased my visibility because I would get more assignments. And then ultimately, I believe that helped to contribute to Associated Press finding me. So I would recommend for anyone who really does love to write, and again, not just a Yelp review, but something with more depth in it, that you could go to your local paper and suggest writing a beauty column. Magazines love it because you can contribute and usually get product in exchange if they don't pay, which is a reality. Not every newspaper or magazine will pay you for your time and your effort, but you do get something in exchange. And it also helps you be able to communicate certain things to your potential audience. If you can get your professional voice up to a certain level, people really do pay attention. They find that you become more of a credible person, and they really want to hear what you have to say. I give a lot of free advice to a lot of people, and I'm okay with that because it does, in return, bring new business to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that providing as much value as you can to your audience, we don't realize how much we have to give. There's so much knowledge that we can share that we think is common knowledge, but it can truly help someone else. So I'm definitely in agreement with you there as far as, sharing as much knowledge as you can. So one last thing before we go. You recommended reaching out to newspapers. What specific advice would you give if for a solo SD who is wanting to build her business, his business? They don't have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of time. How can they get started on finding publications, whether it be something in our industry or the local newspaper? How do they even reach the editor?
That was a task that I would say for anybody who wants to do that, be very patient, but also be very urgent. Not pestering, not bothersome, but urgent. Always treat things with urgency. The publication world is based on deadlines. Everything has to be done yesterday or 2 days ago. So being able to create time to make those articles happen is of utmost importance. I really found that LinkedIn is an excellent tool. A lot of estheticians underutilize LinkedIn. They ignore it. They just say, I don't know how to get around it. I don't even know how many connections I have. I think I have over 4,000 or 5,000 connections on LinkedIn, probably more than that at this point. And I utilize those on a regular basis, 20 minutes per week.
Yeah, I have gotten so many jobs through LinkedIn, yes. Consulting jobs. So spa owners or product company reps or different things like that will reach out to me, and it says a lot. And I find people that I want to interview on there. I mean, that is your business card. That's your resume,
Exactly.
So yeah, yes. I'm glad that you pointed that out. I think that's a very, very powerful tool.
Yes. It's fantastic. It allows you to write. You can write your own articles and distribute them. A lot of times I do get inquiries from LinkedIn, so I take those very seriously and respond to those immediately. It's good practice for somebody who's interested in writing that they can actually test out their skills in that forum. And literally contacting any of the magazines that you want to work for or write for to talk to them and see what their requirements are. The only way you're going to find out is to ask. So I say just ask everyone and find out. Everyone has a different set of requirements. I found that networking meetings are fantastic. Anything from there's BNI, there's Go Ramp Up, there's Rising Tide Society is a really excellent one.
A great resource is Meetup as well. You can find
Meetup is
local.
Excellent. Yes, all different locations, different days and times. There are many that are free, that are some that are paid. Those will expose you to different audience members and potentially other people who need these types of articles written. I've met actually 2 reporters through Meetup who needed me to write some content for their websites, and it was paid, which is great. So I would say leave no stone unturned. You just never know who you're going to run into who has an opportunity for you. Ask everyone. Have your business cards always ready.
I just thought of something I wanted to throw in there as well. I had an article featured in Day Spa magazine that I found out about through HARO, which is Help a Reporter Out. Yes. So for those of you that aren't familiar with that website, you can sign up and 3 times a day you'll get emails and it'll say, we're looking for an expert in this area. And if you are that expert, you just respond to it, and they'll put your article or, your interview or your quote or whatever it is into the magazine. It took me an hour to do, and it was
Yes.
more exposure for me just by taking an hour of my day. So
They've actually used about a dozen of my quotes already.
Okay.
So
yeah.
if you Google my name and you go search through some, you'll see parenting, you'll see men's fitness. I'm in there. I'm in another health magazine. I was this close to Dr. Oz. Unfortunately, somebody bought out space so that we couldn't get our article in, but I can say it was almost there. But there's many, many opportunities through Harrow. It's, again, urgency is of the utmost importance. If you miss the deadline, they're not going to accept your submission. So it's always good to make sure you check regularly. Usually I think it's 4:30 in the morning when they send out their East Coast submissions, but it is an excellent way to get exposure. They do a great job of publishing your name, your spa name, your location. I've gotten a lot of cold calls from some of those. So I say if that's something that you definitely want to explore, it's super easy to do it. You just have to be ready and just look for it every single day. And again, consistency is key.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing this information. I know that this is going to help a lot of people in our community, and hopefully we'll start seeing some Esthetician Connect Facebook group members posting their articles that they've got featured in the group.
We would love to see that.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Liliana.
Thank you, Daniela.